What if I told you that one of the most transformative powers you can awaken is not action, but inaction? What if true mastery begins not by imposing your voice, but by keeping silence with intention and awareness? In a world saturated with opinions, demands, and stimuli, ignoring has become a revolutionary act. But not just any ignorance, that woven with wisdom and discernment. Ignoring as the sages do, from consciousness, from compassion, from clarity itself. Most people believe power lies in control, in response, in defense, and domination. They think identity is affirmed in every argument won, in every word imposed over another. But the ancient masters of the East, especially within Buddhist tradition, taught something different and profound. They taught that those who do not react are freer than those who always respond. That whoever chooses not to engage with what does not merit their energy begins to govern their inner world like a serene emperor. Imagine walking a mountain path in silence. At each step, someone throws stones hoping you will stop, turn, and strike back. But you continue, silent, firm, and each stone falls without touching you. In the distance, the noise disperses. The mountain does not stir at the wind. This is the art of ignoring with wisdom and discernment. This video is not an exploration of ego wanting to be right, but of the soul desiring peace and tranquility. We will speak of subtle non-reaction and equanimity, of how Buddhism has taught for centuries the path toward inner stability, and why not engaging is one of the highest forms of energetic protection available to consciousness. We will show you why you need not respond to everything, how to differentiate between what merits your attention and what only seeks to drain it, and how to cultivate an unshakable mind amid chaos and noise. Because in times of relentless noise, conscious silence becomes the greatest form of wisdom itself. Prepare to discover a teaching as ancient as it is powerful and life-changing, a secret in plain sight, but understood by few awakened souls. Because ignoring, when born from understanding and not from indifference, is a way of loving your peace deeply. And protecting your peace is protecting your soul from unnecessary suffering. The journey ahead reveals not weakness but true sovereignty, not avoidance but conscious choice, not hardening the heart but opening it only to what elevates the spirit. When Siddhartha Gautama, the prince who renounced his kingdom, sat beneath the tree of illumination, he was not seeking the noise of the world, but its silent core. The Buddha, as he would later be called, did not teach his disciples how to respond with aggression to the outer world, nor how to win disputes, nor how to defend a social image. He taught them to see with clarity, and by seeing clearly, one ceases to engage with what has no substance or reality. In Buddhist teachings, one of the deepest pillars is detachment. But pay attention. Detaching is not ceasing to feel. It is ceasing to become entangled. It is observing an emotion, a judgment or criticism, as one watches a cloud crossing the sky. One recognizes it, accepts it, and lets it pass. This is key to understanding the power of ignoring others from a spiritual perspective. It is not about contempt, but about inner mastery and sovereignty. The word Buddhists use is upekkha, translated as equanimity. It is the final jewel of the four sublime abodes, alongside compassion, benevolent love, and empathic joy. Equanimity is remaining centered even when the external world shakes. It is ignoring not from indifference or pride, but from compassion that does not allow your energy to spill over stimuli that do not build your path forward. Let us examine a historical example. When Buddha was confronted by provocateurs, he did not respond with anger, but with questions. When insulted, he did not return the offense, but smiled. When a man hurled harsh words at him, expecting reaction, he simply said, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" Thus, the insult returned to the aggressor, not through violence, but through emptiness itself. This attitude was considered revolutionary, even subversive, in his time. While leaders and Brahmins debated hierarchies, Buddha taught that true freedom is born when one stops depending on others' judgment to establish identity. In words from the Dhammapada, "As a solid rock does not move with the wind, so the sage remains unmoved by praise or blame." The schools of Mahayana and Zen Buddhism carried this wisdom even further. In Zen, the master does not respond with lengthy discourses, but with silence, gesture, or paradox. They teach that wisdom lies not in the answers we give, but in the space we create between stimuli and our reactions. In that interval resides our freedom and true power. At the heart of Buddhist teachings lies a profound image: the mind as a serene lake. When the lake is calm, it reflects with precision the moon, the stars, the firmament itself. But if you agitate it, if you throw stones, what you see is distortion and chaos. This metaphor reveals an essential principle. When we react, we cease seeing clearly. When we observe, we begin to understand deeply. Ignoring from wisdom does not mean closing your eyes or fleeing from life. It is rather the act of preserving the purity of your inner lake. In a world saturated with stimuli, opinions, and reactive emotions, ignoring is not weakness. It is spiritual resistance. Not passivity, but a deliberate choice to not feed what does not construct your path. Buddhism teaches us that everything we perceive through the senses, the words of others, their opinions, their judgments, is impermanent. They are like echoes in an empty cave. Buddha called this anicca, the impermanence of all phenomena. So if an insult has no basis in permanence, why would we carry it as a burden for years? Why allow external noise to determine our internal state and consciousness? Here enters a crucial principle: the law of cause and effect. In Buddhist thought, everything we experience arises from a cause and generates an effect. If before criticism we respond with rage, we are planting new seeds of suffering. If instead we observe the emotion rising without acting from it, we are cutting the cycle. We are liberating karma. And that, in itself, is a silent revolution and inner liberation. Zen, the Japanese branch of Buddhism, deepens this teaching with an apparently simple practice: zazen, seated meditation. It is not about escaping the world, but observing thoughts like clouds in the sky. One does not cling to clouds, nor tries to clear them by force. One simply breathes and observes in silence. With time, this practice translates to daily life. When someone offends you, you do not react immediately. You breathe, you observe, and you choose to act from presence, not from impulsivity and reactivity. A revealing example is the monk who, after receiving a slap, did not respond. His disciple, indignant, asked why he did not defend his dignity. The master responded, "What value is there in defending a self that has no real existence?" In this phrase resonates one of Buddhism's central truths. The ego is an illusion constructed by attachment to perceptions. Ignoring what feeds that ego is approaching true freedom and liberation. In Mahayana Buddhism, the Bodhisattva, the awakened being serving others' liberation, acts not from noise, but from silence. This silence is not absence of words, but presence so complete that no offense penetrates it. Here, ignoring becomes a refined spiritual art, the invisible sword cutting ego, and the armor protecting the soul itself from contamination. In society dominated by the need to respond, the constant impulse to opine and defend, ignoring becomes revolutionary. But distinguish clearly. Ignoring is not contempt. It is discernment. Not closing the heart, but opening it so it is no longer affected by the small and petty and trivial. Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment to recognition, identity, external judgment, and validation. When someone ignores or criticizes you, what hurts is not the act, but the story you create. I am not enough. I am rejected. I must defend. These narratives are ego's shackles binding you. The deepest ignoring is releasing these stories completely. Ignoring not the other, but the interpretation that wounds you deeply and personally. Many Buddhist masters note that true spiritual strength is not measured by knowledge or mantras recited, but by maintaining equanimity when the world crumbles. This is upekkha, one of the four sublime abodes, translated as imperturbability. It does not mean emotional indifference, but serenity, independent of external fluctuations and chaos surrounding you. The art of ignoring confronts us with uncomfortable truth. How much energy do you lose reacting to what does not merit your attention? Every unchanneled emotion, every repetitive thought, every impulsive response drains your vital force significantly. Buddhism teaches that conserving energy is essential for advancing toward illumination and awakening. Ignoring protects your inner temple and sacred sanctuary from contamination and depletion. An ancient Zen proverb says, "When the sage points to the moon, the fool looks at the finger." The more focused on superficial, criticism, judgment, fleeting opinion, the more distant from deep truth. Learning to ignore is learning to see the moon amid noise and distraction. Often, the wisest action is not responding from the same vibration that attacks you. Elevate. Breathe. Remember, you are not your emotion, thoughts, or others' projections ever. Each time you choose non-reaction, you declare, "I govern my temple." You honor Buddhism's principle that freedom lives in the space between stimulus and response. On the spiritual path, ignoring is not fleeing nor indifference. It is advanced inner care, a shield forged in discernment's alchemy. But how can an incarnated soul apply this wisdom without evasion or repression? Here are 5 essential practices cultivating the art of ignoring from elevated consciousness. First, sacred silence as choice. Before responding, pause. Inhale deeply. Observe the emotion arising. Silence is not emptiness but fertile ground where conscious response germinates. By ignoring certain stimuli, hurtful comments, provocations, external expectations, you strengthen your inner throne. Make silence daily practice. Begin dedicating 5 minutes listening to your breath without judgment. That inner space becomes your refuge when the world shouts at you. Second, guard your energy. Not everything merits attention. Think of vital energy as sacred currency. Each thought fed, each emotional reaction is expenditure. When engaging in pointless disputes or others' drama, you drain essence. Ask yourself, Does this merit my energy? Does it build or dissolve me? Learning to ignore is not coldness, but self-love in action. Stop being open ground. Learn to be sky, vast, silent, imperturbable. Third, the mirror exercise, observing the other. Each time someone irritates you or projects negativity, practice mirroring. Ask, what part of me reacts? Am I seeing the other or my unhealed wounds? Ignoring another is not denying them, but recognizing their judgment only has power if you surrender identity. This transforms automatic reactions into self-knowledge opportunities. The true sage ignores because everything affecting him belongs to him. Fourth, strengthen your spiritual axis. When misaligned, any external wind shakes you. When centered, through meditation, contemplation, prayer, nature, you are a mountain amid storms. Establish daily sacred connection. Call it God, void, presence, or silence. That relationship becomes the vibrational field, repelling everything, not resonating with your elevated frequency and consciousness level. Fifth, remember, ignoring protects what you build. Each time choosing non-reaction, you declare, my peace is more valuable than your chaos. Ignoring, from Buddhist wisdom, is compassionate. I do not permit contamination and neither perpetuate suffering's cycle. Ignoring is looking with love and choosing not to participate. When embodied, ignoring transforms from defense into art. An art returning you to center, dissolving validation needs, converting life into sanctuary of deep quietude and peace. When we look toward the heart of Buddhist teachings and of many other esoteric paths of wisdom, we find a hidden jewel, carved with the precision of time and the pulse of compassion. Inner freedom is not born from external control, but from mastery over our responses. And in that serene dominion rises a supreme virtue, the power to ignore what is not essential or true. Ignoring is not contempt. It is not arrogance. It is a refined form of discernment, a language understood only by those who have stopped battling their ego and begun listening to the soul's subtle song. When you ignore with wisdom, you are not fleeing the world. You are choosing which worlds you want to inhabit within yourself and consciousness. You have journeyed through the profound understanding that ignoring can be more revolutionary than responding. That sometimes silence is more piercing than 1,000 words. That renouncing the last word is not weakness, but an act of spiritual power. Because when you stop reacting to external noise, you begin hearing your true self's inner whisper and divine voice. Remember this: the great sages, the mystics, the illuminated ones, were not those who imposed themselves with force, but those who cultivated the art of detachment and non-attachment. Buddha did not ignore the world from indifference, but because he understood that many voices are merely echoes of unresolved suffering. Ignoring does not mean hardening the heart, but opening it only to what elevates you. In an era of constant stimuli, opinions everywhere, judgments falling like acid rain, learning to ignore is a practice of mental hygiene, an offering to the soul. When you choose not to engage, not to respond to empty criticism, not to seek external approval, you create space for peace to flourish, for focus to deepen, for expansion to occur naturally. You are not alone in this path. More and more souls awaken to this truth, that not everything deserves a response, that not all words should enter our energetic field, that we can and must choose what we resonate with. That is inner sovereignty and true freedom. So if this message has touched something within you, if these words have ignited clarity's spark, I invite you to do something simple yet powerful. Subscribe to explore wisdom that transforms from within, not from without. Because the deepest change always begins with the gaze we choose to have. And sometimes the wisest gaze is one that, with love, chooses to ignore.